Hello, everyone, and good morning and good afternoon to all the viewers today. I'm streaming live from South Africa. I am Sydney Stoudmire, as you guys know, from the Open Mic Foundation. And I would just like to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day from around the world this morning. So thank you, everyone, for joining. We have a special guest with us today, all the way from Chicago. This is Sydney. Sydney, you're going to have to introduce yourself and give people a little bit of overview about yourself quickly. Let's hand it over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sydney Stoudmire. I am from Chicago. My background is in grant writing and arts administration, but all of those kind of external identifiers took a backseat when I became a mother 2 years ago. My daughter is Nola, and she has completely transformed my life and my identity. And that's really what I'm here to talk about today. I'll let Sheshni tell more, but I am publishing my first book of short stories and essays and diary entries that are all around the transition to motherhood. And so happy Mother's Day, by the way, to everyone who's a mom who's watching. And it was really important for me to be able to show up and talk about this today specifically.
Yeah. So, hey, Don, I see Don's on. They're saying they're struggling to hear us. Guys, give me a thumbs up or give me some type of sound if you guys can hear us. Don, just let me know if you can. I'm not too sure if you can, hun. There seems to be a little bit of sound trouble this morning, so I'm not too sure. Let's just see. Okay, she got us now. She got us now.
Okay.
All right, guys, Open Mic Foundation, as you guys know, it's a storytelling platform. We bring all people from around the world that shares their stories, their intimate challenges, what they've experienced in life. And I got to know Sydney at a coaching circle that we're part of in the US, which I've joined a couple of months ago. And I know Sydney from that circle. Sydney, it seems like we've known each other forever. um, and Sydney and I we've become really close and we collaborate a lot and we meet on a weekly basis. So Sydney's here to share her story, about permission to heal. And she's here to tell us more about what it's like, from a healing process and from a mother's point of view. And what's more important is that Sydney is launching her book. Yeah, and she's going to give us, how Sydney shares her story with us. She is going to let us know about a book and what the book's about. And she would like to gift someone the book today. So whoever's watching, stay on. Please get involved in the story, and let's see how this whole thing unravels. So thank you so much, Sydney, and I'm looking forward to hearing your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Sheshni. Well, I love to kind of start with I like to start at the beginning of the year and where I was when you and I met in the circle. Um, I had been, it had been a year just like everyone in the world experienced the mania of COVID and the pandemic. And I had been in a space where when all of that took a turn, I felt like I had been running away or rather suppressing a lot of the challenges of motherhood at the point when the pandemic hit and quarantine hit. My daughter was 1 year old, and I had been a stay-at-home mom, and I also was a caretaker and still am a caretaker for my grandmother. And and so it was a really big transition where a lot of the things that I had been running away from and suppressing in terms of mental health issues and challenges and anxieties, they really came to a head, they came to the forefront when I was quarantined and I really couldn't get away from them. And so writing has always been, ever since I was a child, probably from the age of 5 or 6, writing was always the way that I processed my emotions and was able to deal with any sort of anxiety challenges that I had. And so what was great about the pandemic was that it really brought me back to that core of writing for peace of mind. And so at the point that we met at the circle in January, I had done a lot of writing in 2020. And I had the benefit of also being a part of a coaching circle for specifically for mothers. I received a scholarship amazingly out of the blue. It was one of those huge blessings that I was contacted and recommended to apply for this scholarship to be a part of an 8-week coaching program for mothers. And through that program, I did a lot of digging into a lot of the kind of conditioned things that I believed about what I could have as a mother, as a single mom, and also what was possible with a lot of the different challenges and traumas that I had experienced as a child. So it was kind of like I was in a very raw place in the beginning of January. And then the circle came around and I decided to join the group because I knew I needed some more solidarity. And so more of that sharing happened. And that was something really transformational for me to realize when you share what you're processing and what you're healing through in public, something happens, and it's a very transformational experience because you realize that you're not alone in what you're dealing with and what you're coping through. And so I kind of got addicted to this like sharing in public thing. And so in February, I entered a writing challenge that was on Twitter, and it was a 30-day challenge to write an essay and publish it on Twitter every day. And I did it. And that was a huge win for me because it was essentially me publishing diary entries online and sharing it with this community of writers that I was a part of. And so by the end of the writing challenge, I had decided that I really wanted to package these short stories, these short essays and diary entries into book form and to publish it, because I had realized that as I was writing and as I was sharing these things that were very personal, I was getting a lot of affirmation from other mothers that they were experiencing the same anxieties and the same, challenges with feeling like, doing their best and showing up to the best of their abilities, but also feeling that they were, in a lot of ways not measuring up. And so so that was like a big decision that I made, but I knew that it was also a long time coming, because the reason this talk is called Permission to Heal is that I realized I had to really move past the story that I had been living and the story that I had created or around what I thought was possible for me. I needed to be able to take it outside of myself and put it out into the world, and then to be able to kind of give myself permission to move to a different story. And so, and that's important, I believe, for every human being on the planet. You don't have to be a writer to benefit from journaling and then sharing that story. Of course, when you feel safe to, and within the space of safety and vulnerability, but that's where I am now. And so I shared that with our group, the Circle, and got so much support around really putting it out there, because I completely admit, if I hadn't had the support of the Circle, it may still not be a book that's going to be shared in the world. So that's also it's such a transformational part of my journey, is the community that I have found, and just having that accountability, having that I'm not alone in what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling sort of support system. So yeah, that's where I am right now. And I had struggled with even what I thought my bottom line would be for this and why I was sharing it now. And you asked me that, and I really appreciated you asking, like, have you thought about what your end goal is for this, and what do you want to accomplish with this? And, and I've been meditating on that question a whole lot. And I realized that at the core of it, it's really just giving myself permission to not be ashamed of the stories that in the experiences and the feelings that I have, and to be able to bring the shame out of bring the struggle out of isolation and share it with other women and other mothers, to show that this is not abnormal. You're an amazing person, and you have an amazing heart, and you love your family, and you're doing the best you can. And so I think once I took myself out of it and stopped making it about me, I really did transcend the anxiety that I was feeling about putting this out there. Because I have actually had a lot of experience in the past where I've shared things that I've written personally and upset other people, like parents or previous people I'd been in relationships with. So it was kind of a point of PTSD for me, that, oh, if I put this out there, someone's going to be upset, someone's going to have an issue that I wrote about them and shared it. But it's very freeing and necessary for me.
So let's pause there for a bit, right? So, you know, Yeah, so I believe, and hence why I created open mic, right? Because when you speak your truth and you speak from what you experience and the challenges that you've been through, how people receive that and how people react to that is theirs. It's not yours, right?
Yes.
And I, when open mic got created, I also had exactly the same thing that you're saying right now, right? Because not a lot of people share their truth. Not a lot of people feel vulnerable, or there's a lot of shame involved of what people go through. People, women specifically, single moms. I'm a single mom. We're so afraid to say we're single. We're so afraid of the stigma of what society holds, with being single, whether it's being divorced, whether it's being, I know in my culture, I mean, I'm from South Africa, right? So in my culture, an Indian woman being divorced is like, oh my word, it is not to be known. And it's a shame to the family. Oh, I'm telling you, girl, I've heard everything, right? It's
Yeah.
a shame to the culture. It's a shame to the religion. You're going to make, your parents are not going to like this and you have to stay. There's just so much around that. And I find a lot of the stories that come into open mic, I've also noticed that, you know, when somebody does speak their truth and whoever is listening at this moment right now, it's for them is meant to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And whatever they do with that, from your healing to someone else's ears, it's something for them to take in. And as much as you healing when you sharing it, by me listening to you, I'm healing at the same time. And people don't realize the power of words and voice in the story that we all share. So I just thought about sharing that with
Yeah.
you because I appreciate you
Oh,
coming on and just sharing that with me.
absolutely. And thank you for sharing that you also feel that same, that
Yeah,
you also experience that same backlash.
yeah,
And it's really fascinating because it doesn't matter what culture you're in, what country you're in, even what ethnicity or background, it's being a single mother, being a single woman, period. It's something that can become internalized as in there's something wrong with me. And then
mhm,
you and being a single mother, like forget about it. There's so many stigmas attached to it and social statistics. I'll tell you the truth, I definitely was embodying and internalizing a lot of those things. And it took me a while to really realize that I was really hiding, I have not been, this is a kind of a big deal for me to be doing this because I haven't been active on social media literally in like 4 years. I experienced, but even
wow,
before my daughter was born, I had experienced I had a kind of career embarrassment that I can go into that, but I felt like I failed at something that was really important to me. And I just kind of took time off of the internet in general. I also was really burned out from just kind of the constant hustle and grind. So I went offline and then I did a fellowship, a research fellowship, and I was able to travel and have some time off and really connect with what was important to me. And one of the things that I did in that time actually was I became a burlesque dancer. So I did a whole
oh
amateur.
wow,
It was really cool. I was like, I went and joined the circus. Basically, I went off and disappeared and did my own thing. And my stage name was Sydney San Diego. So it was
okay, okay,
another story, but that was a lot of fun. And then I had my daughter. I found out just at the end of my fellowship, I was expecting my daughter, and then I don't know. And that news was not planned, and it was actually a week after me and her father broke up. So it
yeah,
was like it was a really like, okay, wow, life is taking a really huge turn. And so then I was like, okay, I mean, I'm just being honest. I was like, I had this career embarrassment and now I'm a single mom, and I just literally felt this cloak of shame that was like culturally indoctrinated into me. And so it was, the first year was just a lot of new mom bliss, but also a lot of kind of low grade anxiety around the fact that I knew I was hiding, and that I knew I had a message, I knew I had a purpose, and that that I'm a person, I just naturally have the inclination to want to share. And the fact that I was not sharing for fear of judgment, and really it was me judging myself, that was really eating at me. And so then the pandemic happened, and then I got all this, community, and started writing more. And so I really do, we don't do this enough as moms, but it's Mother's Day. I'm really celebrating myself today for all the work,
Oh, wow.
I've been doing, all the healing work I've been doing. And that's why it is, again, permission to heal, because I would not be here right now. I would not have been able to talk to you right now about this a year ago. So I do really want to acknowledge the healing work, and acknowledge that, even though it's incremental, if you're consciously showing up every day for yourself, for your children, because you're trying to break those generational traumas and cycles and curses, then, it adds up. And that's really, for me, has been really encouraging to see that, okay, I wouldn't have had the bravery to do this a year ago. So that means that even though it's incremental, it's still growth, it's still.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, no, listen, we all tend to heal as we grow, right? And the
Yeah.
more we grow, the more we learn, the more we see, the more we hear. And when you're around different people, different diversities, different cultures, different religion, you tend to become more, right? So Dawn, by the way, I just want to say this. When you just mentioned that circus thing, Dawn just dumped it. She just jumped on it. This is like new information. Oh, hell yeah, Dawn. We got her there.
Yeah, I'll share more
So
stuff.
yeah, so Dawn has a question. And Dawn, I just want to say, I do get to, get these type of information, out of people, right? So yeah, I just want to say
I
that. So
didn't plan
so
on
Dawn
sharing
has
that.
yeah. So Dawn has a question. She says, where do you think the self-judgment stemmed from?
Mm. Well, it's certainly something that I was aware of it's so fascinating. It's indoctrinated into us, and by that I mean, when you live in a world or in a country where, there's this very clear picture of um, what a healthy family looks like, where it's, a mom and a dad and and children under,
The
all in
traditional family, right? The
traditional,
traditional
right?
family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
so I actually never had that, even, growing up. My parents were married, but they separated when I was pretty young, and they were divorced by the time I was in high school. I have two sisters. I'm the middle child. And well, I should say two sisters with my mother, but my father he has quite a few children. And that was part of the reason why my parents did separate and divorce, was because there was a lot of infidelity in the relationship. Um, and so I didn't have a positive example of really what I would look for in a partner. And I made a lot of, I really kind of had the same cycles of bad relationship choices, for lack of a better word.
Mhm.
And I think I had some guilt, where you say, where did the shame come from, or where did the stigma come from? It was that by the time I was expecting my daughter, even though I was excited about her coming into my life, I felt like I should have recognized different red flags, and I shouldn't have ignored my intuition about certain things. And so I think that I can't speak for every single mom, who is an unmarried single mom, but that was really what it was for me. It was like I was not more wise in my choices, and this isn't the condition, these weren't the conditions that if I ever had a child that I would have wanted to bring her into the world. And so I really was beating myself up for a long time about the ways that I was really seeking validation through a man, through a relationship, seeking love that I didn't get, or, the kind of attachment that I didn't have with my father. It was really the textbook daddy issue stuff. And so I felt embarrassed, and it feels terrible to say this, because of course I'm not embarrassed about my daughter. I love her, and she's the best part of my life. Truly, I mean that, because she grows me. She helps me face my own stuff. But I felt embarrassed, and I felt shame that I didn't make better choices. But I think that that's something that that I really did wake up to, is that the story is never finished, and we can't change the past, but we can change our future by our choices that we make today. And so that is such a huge, huge, profound mindset shift for me that I'm at the point where I just feel I feel on fire, and I'm really excited about what future I'm building for me and my daughter. And, and the shame is there. The thing is, shame is such a damaging emotion. And even when you're in things, in a situation that you may have regrets around, it's still it's just not it's not a productive uh, emotion or a way to feel and move. And so that's really what I feel strongly about this book, is that I want to really take the shame out of being a single mom, because if you feel shame around it, then there's really not a whole lot that you can even do to improve your situation, because statistics show us all these things about, like, single moms are poor, single moms have, they're more likely to kind of have children who are incarcerated, and then those statistics are amplified, with Black women. And so it's
Mhm.
like, I was just like, I refuse to accept that story. And I know it starts with me being able to bookend that feeling and kind of take it outside myself. And so I will share that this is the first book. It's volume 1 of me sharing and publishing my diaries. And even though they're deeply personal, I really want to want to share the things that I was writing about and experiencing when I was pregnant, because I know that there are mothers to be out there who are suddenly single and feeling like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? Like, I really would have wished that I would have seen someone who was able to make it through those difficult feelings and know that there was something on the other side of it. So, again, I'm really thinking beyond myself, beyond my comfort, and all I'm thinking of is who I can help, in terms of mothers who can find peace within themselves as they're bringing and stewarding children into the world.
Wow. So Don says some choices are made for us when we aren't listening to the voice of our soul. If you don't hear the whisper, you will get the yell. There is no
Mm.
shame in a woman owning her space and raising the next generation. So I have a question for you, right? So I'm going to take you a little bit off your track a little bit, okay?
Sure.
So as much as you feel shame, and we all do feel shame, whether it's in the past, whether it's present, whatever the circumstances may be, do you not think that the shame is a perception that we created within ourselves rather than, you know, sometimes we create these perceptions of ourselves, our inner selves, and that's why we don't share stories, right? Because we're so afraid of what the other person's going to say, or we're so afraid of the judgment given on us. And we say shame, not recognizing it lies inside of us and not through someone's eyes or ears. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, that's it.
That's
It
it,
is a
right?
total, it is.
Yeah.
And that's the rub of it. That's like the big aha moment, is that it was me all along. It's like the movie,
Yeah.
the Sixth Sense, the movie when he's
Yeah.
like realizes he was dead at the end of the movie. That's kind of what it was. It's like, it's that realization that it's all in your own head. It might have come from different things that it's all your experience, and maybe it's all the things that have been, you've been kind of fed and spoon fed culturally, but it still becomes a choice where you can
Mhm.
decide to shake it off. And that's really what this is for me, is a declaration that I'm not ashamed anymore. i'm
Yeah.
not i'm not going to live in shame anymore. And I was reading this book. I think it's called The Map to Consciousness, or The Map of Consciousness. And it essentially, it kind of, it rates emotions, human emotions, on a scale of, on a frequency scale of how, how I forget, I'm losing the language, but it basically ranks shame as the lowest grade emotion as far as how damaging
Yes.
it is to human being, right? So
Yes,
on
it
the
is.
scale of shame to love, like, shame is the one that can kill people. It
Yeah.
literally is a disease. And so when you can shake off shame, it's like, the world is your oyster at that point. And that's where I'm at right now. And the thing is, been I've had this feeling before, and I've had it prior to being a mom, and I've had it prior to different things that I've accomplished in my career. And I have a lot of things, you know, that I've at different stages of my life that I'm proud of. But I realized that this motherhood thing, I'm still still figuring it out, like big time, still just adjusting to the identity. And I was like, I can't grow in it if I have this cloak of shame around, like, you know, you're not married, you're not you're a single mom, whatever, all of those. I really wanted to change that narrative and make it empowering, because at this point I'm single by choice, and I'm excited that I have the freedom to make the choices that are going to, you know, grow me and my daughter and build in the direction that I want to see our lives go. And so for me, it really became necessary for me to flip that shame narrative to something that was empowering. And so I feel a sense of freedom to be able to say that, yeah, I'm single. I'm a
Yeah.
single mom, and I could, you know, I'm in this place where I'm deeply satisfied with the relationship that I have with myself, and the relationship that I am continuing to cultivate with God and with my daughter and with my family. That's very, very matriarchal. We have lots of women in our family, and of course her father is in her life, and we're working on co-parenting, and so that's a huge blessing too. But yeah, I'm in a great place as far as realizing that the shame was definitely something I was projecting onto myself. And so it's just like a rejection of it now, you know?
Yeah.
So that's,
No, well done. I must say, I have been, I mean, I'm sure Dawn's on as well. I mean, I've seen a beautiful transformation in you over these last couple of months. You know, I just want to say you're brave, you're courageous, and you're fearful. The fact that you are here today, sharing this story from within and just shouting out to the world, right, is already a step in facing what you had put onto yourself for many, many years. So
yeah.
well done to you. Really, really well done to you.
Thank
Yeah. So let's talk about. I know you've kind of highlighted a few things, and shame seems to be one of your key aspects in your book. Could you say that shame on in this book that you currently have, that you're currently launching right now, is something that's coming out more and more in all of the, is it all journal stories that you've published in there? How many are there?
So within the book, there are 35 stories, and they're all very short. So
Okay.
sometimes they're like short poems or lists or notes to self, affirmations, and some of them um, are very short stories and essays. And so it's a mixture of different, but all again, something you could read in its entirety under 30 minutes. So it's not intended to, but it's written for
Okay.
the mom who's like, I want to read something and I want it to hit to, you know, I want to be able to feel something from it, but it's not going to take, it's not going to take very long to read. So, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that majority of these short stories or poems, what would you say those themes are coming out for you? Obviously, shame being one of them. What are some of the other healing aspects, that you had to go through? Let's talk about a little bit of that.
So another aspect is questions. I love questions, and questions are, for me, a gateway to healing. And this comes back to a lot of what we talk about in our group, the circle, about wonder, you know, and the way that curiosity is, it's, to me, has always been the antidote to anxiety. So when I stop trying to know what it is, you know, what I know, when I stop trying to know what the answer is, and I ask another question, I can literally feel my body relax. You know, I can feel the tension melt away. And so, so questions are a big part of this of this collection of work, because I have found that asking questions, and I do have some orienting questions that I continue to come back to over and over, that are my North Star. Being able to say, okay, to be kind of have some intellectual humility and know that I'm asking these questions and they're not going to be answered. I'm just living these questions. Essentially, I'm being willing to be uncomfortable with the unknown, but also just realizing that I've gone through the unknown my whole life and I'm still here. And so it's the healing aspect of the book is definitely around the notion of living the questions. That's actually the prologue to the book, is a quote by Rainer Maria Rilke. He talks about um, learning to love the questions, even, you know, the things that we don't know how they're going to play out. We don't know how things are going to end up, but still being a part of the story and being a part of the process. That's been incredibly healing for me, is to surrender to that, you know, and of course make choices and make decisions. But even when I maybe doubt my decisions or doubt my choices or doubt the directions that I'm taking, it's all about learning to hone that sense of self-trust, and also trusting God, and trusting that I am always in a space of of really wanting to do more good than anything. So I have to really kind of cultivate that muscle of learning to trust that my intentions are always good. And so even if things play out in a way that seems like, in a, you know, kind of in the short scheme of things, are not desirable, it's still to just keep living the question, keep living the question. And that's kind of become my mantra for life right now.
Wow, beautiful. I mean, I do believe we don't ask enough questions, right? And I think we're also not curious enough to tap into that anymore. We are so, I mean, I can speak for people that, you know, I'm surrounded by. We just accept what we get told. We
Mm-hmm.
don't challenge, right? And why should we accept and not ask the questions, and be curious and be intrigued, and you know, and I think we're just so complacent with life that we just don't want to challenge it. We just want to live with the status quo. And I refuse to do that. I don't know about you, Sydney. I just refuse to do that. It doesn't work for me.
I mean, and I love that you use the word status quo, because I use those words also, and I use them in regards to myself. It's literally asking questions, not just about life, but about myself. Like, why do I think like this? Why do I believe this? And it's all around rejecting, you know, refusing to accept my own status quo, you know, and that has been a huge journey too, because it's a really a journey of self-love. You know, you have to love yourself enough first and foremost to accept your, you know, to love yourself the way you are, but also love yourself enough to not accept where you are, when you know that you can do and be more. And so it's a tightrope walk, because it could easily turn into this kind of like, and I've been there, so this is how I know it can be this, you know, ambition to, you know, this, you know, self-help and self-development driven ambition, where you're just trying to be something different because you don't like who you are. But I've really come to a point where I really love my journey, and I really love the mistakes that I've made. In fact, I like the way that I learn, and I feel myself kind of I'm reaching for a quote. Who is the actress? I forget her name. Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
I remember seeing, I was probably like 25 years old. I'm 32 now. And I remember seeing a clip where she talked about enjoying her journey of making mistakes, and she likes making mistakes she makes, and she likes the way she learns from them, and that she loves the journey of figuring out who she is. And I remember watching that and thinking, wow, I don't feel like that at all. I like hate making mistakes. I hate to like, you know. And now I'm like, I get it now. I truly get that, where that comes from. It's like, it's really kind of falling in love with the journey of becoming more of you and blooming into who you are here to be. And that is like, when that becomes that's the goal, that's like, everything else is icing on the cake, you know. That's the journey, that's the joy of
Yeah.
that journey. And it's not about trying to, like, you know, I don't know, it's not trying to beat anyone at anything. It's not a competition. It's not this grit and grind. It's like, no, I see the way I'm blooming, I see how I'm learning, and I'm enjoying that.
Yeah. I also think, you know, when you make mistakes, it also reminds you you're human. You're not meant to be perfect, right?
Right.
And we put so much of pressure on ourselves. We have to be this mom that giving our children 100%. We have to be this mom that is strong and not vulnerable. We have to be this mom that that looks at society, and we are brave and courageous, and we're not supposed to be crying. You know, it's all these things that, you know, we have. Hello, we all human beings, man, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
supposed to be making mistakes. How else are kids going to know themselves, it's okay to make a mistake, right?
Exactly.
It's okay. You don't have to be perfect.
Whew. Yes. I cry in front of Nola, my daughter, all the time. And I that sounds really funny. I cry in front of her all the time. I don't try to be I don't try to like look like I've got it together or like I'm a strong mom. And what I love is that she is comfortable crying. And what the other day she cried and she was just like, I have to cry. And I don't know what happened. She was fine, like nothing happened, but she said, I feel like crying. And I just
Yeah.
was like, okay, go ahead. And so she's just like, ooh, and she's like, my tears, my tears. And then she said,
Oh,
then she says, it's okay to cry. It made my heart melt because I've said that to her before when I've cried, and I was like, it's okay to cry. And, it's truly, I mean, I'm a very weepy person. I feel life at 100 watts. So it's like, I realize like crying is an expression for me. It's an outlet for me. And so I couldn't not cry if I wanted to. And so but I also felt as a kid, I did used to feel like, crying is weak, or it's like, it's just something that, isn't entirely embraced to be a crier. But I like her to know, like, this is a way for you to feel things and process things and get energy out of your body. And so she'll cry and it'll literally seem like nothing is wrong, but she'll just kind of have a cry, and then she's like, I feel better now. And I'm glad that she can do that and know that she's, safe to do that. And she is, yeah, I really want to be able to instill that into her, just a freedom to feel, and to not suppress things. That's where a lot of the dis-ease that we feel is from that unexpressed emotion. And so,
yeah.
yeah, like you said, it's human to
It's
cry.
human, right?
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. A friend of mine said to me yesterday, she said, so I laugh. Okay, I laugh, right? I can have a good cry through laughing, like seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like like belly aching, crying tears, and that's me, right? I'm not the emotional person, so I usually have tears of laughter, right? So a friend of mine tells me yesterday, your laughter is another form of tears.
Wow.
And I was like, and this was yesterday. I saw her and I was like, wow, okay. Um, and we don't realize we grieve and we go through so many different types of expression. We don't see, yeah, we have tears that shows emotions, but there's other forms of how we handle these things, right? And she made me acknowledge yesterday, and I'm sharing this with you, right? She made me acknowledge how I process it. And she made me acknowledge that your laughter and the way that you smile and giggle is your way of how you are emotionally crying. And I was like, wow, this, okay, I hear you, I see you. And I was like, and then I started laughing. And I started laughing, right? Because I don't have that emotion. I mean, you say, you can do the tears thing. I can't do that. But the tears will come if I'm laughing like crazy, right?
That's really cool. I love that. I absolutely love that because there's a flip side of it too, where sometimes people will criticize people who don't cry tears and say, "Well, you're
Yeah.
you're hiding something, you're
Yeah.
suppressing something." No, if
Yeah.
your tears are coming out and you're still expressing how you feel, then great. I would rather laugh and
Yeah.
express
Yeah.
myself that way
Yeah.
than having crying. I'm gonna try it out. I'll see what happens.
I promise you, it was and it was such a aha moment for me yesterday because she said it to me and I was like, I never saw it that way. I never thought, you know, because I'm always laughing, right, at something. And listen, if you can laugh at yourself and if you can cry at yourself, oh, ups to you,
Yeah, for
I,
sure.
I truly, truly, truly believe, right,
Yeah.
that if you can acknowledge what you do and you can laugh at it, oh, honey, you
Yeah.
are well off, right? I mean, gee whiz. Um, Between Dawn and Nelia, that's just firing up all of these things. Dawn's like this, and simply just falling in love with ourselves, the myth of being it all to everyone all the time, it's a lie. Absolutely don't agree with you. Such an important thing to tell our kids. She says, I feel like 100 watts. I feel like so much. And now a way to explain my weepiness. Dawn. And Nelia says, freedom to show your emotions. And that is it, right?
Yeah.
People, we hold back so much and we're so scared to share. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether it's a story, whether it's how you feel or what you did wrong. It's just people are scared. And the same lady yesterday, my friend Adesi, she says, Sesh, people are not where you are. As much as you can express and much you can share, people where they are within their space, they're not there yet. They're not ready to do that.
Yeah.
And it's moms and people like yourself, and I know Dawn and some of the people that are watching, that's gonna be watching this, it's that when you do step into that, when you do want to help people, that's when they start listening. And people like yourself, I mean, Sydney, writing this and sharing it, to the world, people need to hear it because this is what they need to hear, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's healing and sharing, and that's
Yeah,
the real part of it. Is like I can completely understand why some people don't feel comfortable sharing things. I mean, there's this fear of judgment, and that has held me back for years, like, because it was something I did actually experience, writing my truth, and then having it be judged really harshly, and having it happen like on a few different occasions from my childhood through my adulthood, for starting with my diary being read, by my mom, and getting in trouble for things that I wrote, and then having a blog online in the early blog days, so it was like pre-social media, and having people find that blog and see things that I wrote. So it was literally like it felt like every time I would write my truth and share it, or even sometimes not share it, it would be severe backlash for me. And so for me to be in this place now, I think I'm just at the place where I just can't care anymore. That's I was like, people are going to judge, people judge. That's just what people do. And so it's me deciding that I'm going to still write and share my truth anyway, because the alternative isn't an option for me anymore, continuing to quiet myself, because I didn't really realize the connection between just the living small, the smallness of my life and the dissatisfaction I felt in my life as a result of me not sharing and living my truth. And so, whoever is going to judge it harshly and doesn't like it, so be it, because the people who will be empowered to share their own truth and share their own story, that's what I'm focused on, and there's more power in that collective healing than anything.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely support that, right? And I honestly believe that when we do share our stories and our truth, the right people is there to receive it, right? And it's meant to be for them. Um, Honestly, I don't care what other people think, to be honest. I have been living like that for many years. I really don't. Um, a lot of people, say that you're full of yourself. I'm like, I know. Thank you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
When do
do
you
it
feel
at
like
work.
when did you
Yeah.
start? Do you remember a turning point where you started feeling that way, or has it always been?
So no, not always been like that. So as you know, I'm also in corporate, right? And I come from a men's environment workspace. So me being a woman, and obviously a woman of color in this dominating a man's workplace, made me stood up for myself and made me realize I'm not willing to be any less no more. And I will be treated fairly and I will be treated right. Whether you like it or not, you're all going to hear me. So being in that position and being in where I was at that particular point in time, and it was in my mining years, I was in the mining industry. So you can imagine, right? And it took a lot, um, but then it became easier. And the more and more and the more and more I got used to not caring about what other people had to think, the more I respected myself,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
I gave myself the permission to share. I gave myself the permission to say, it's okay. But what I also like doing, as much as I don't care what people say, but I do observe and listen to what they have to say,
Mm.
right? It's not about taking it in because it's not about them, it's about you, right? You
Right.
also have, people will judge, and that's human behavior. We all do it in some way or another. It's about, what do you, when you hear this, what do people think about that? It's not about accepting it, it's about acknowledging, being conscious and aware of it. So again, if people say, sis, you're just full of it, I'm like, I know, that's me.
Mhm.
And this is not being, arrogant or egotist. No, I know I am,
Mhm.
because that's me, and I'm proud of it, and I will never step down from that, because this is who I am, irrespective of what you think.
Mhm.
This is me, and I will be no small for anyone but myself. And I've learned that over the years. I have, listen, it has taken me a long time to get to there. It really has. But
Mm.
it also brings back to where you are within yourself, right? And the more and more, I collaborate with storytellers from around the world, we all have similar struggles and stories and challenges and passions and desires, and it's a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I've ever done, the most, I'm a solo, I travel alone. I can go AWOL for 3 weeks without anybody knowing where I am. I've done
Mhm.
it because I can. And people don't like it because I can. Nothing stops. Something, the only, do you know, if you really want to achieve something, if you want to do anything, do you know who actually stops you? Who actually is in that part that for you not getting to where you are?
It's us,
You know, it's
right?
it's you,
Yeah.
right? If
It's
you
us.
tell me you can't do something, I says, okay, why do you think you can't do it? It's you. You're standing in your own way.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And when I learned that, I started, okay, this is, you get tired of listening to that narrative over and over and over, and you get tired of it.
You do.
So yeah, it's, you get so conscious and aware, and the more aware and more conscious you become, the more you say, oh yeah, I know it's me, okay, let's move on, okay, I
Yeah.
accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
And then and you'll see, Sydney, I think, as you go, and you've transformed so quickly, you really, your journey is, it's just beginning, right? And you'll see, the more and more you start speaking and doing what you're just doing right now, you're gonna say, I know, thank you.
Yeah. You know what though?
Yeah.
That's another significant part of realization that I had. I forget. I'm in so many different coaching conversations. I think really I realized that I used to have this kind of big personality, right? And I had a
Yeah.
lot of, and not to say it like I don't anymore, but I had a confidence and I had achieved a lot of things that I was proud of in my career. And I was in a relationship with someone who was not entirely supportive, and with everything that I accomplished, it kind of made him aware of what he didn't accomplish, and it was challenging for him. And I think at the time I couldn't stand in my own sense of confidence while being with someone who didn't have that same sense of confidence. So it definitely, I diminished myself, for this person that I was with. And I realized that, and that was one of those like, wow, that's really where I really started to lose the I just saw my battery light came on. I have to charge my computer. But that was where I realized that I was really dimming my light for other people. And so, and then you have to forgive yourself for that, because that's a huge and devastating realization that, oh my goodness, I let a relationship, keep me from being me. And so I do feel like I'm kind of coming back to myself now, and healing through that.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so Dawn and Nelia is just firing up. These two are on a roll today, I must say. Thank you, ladies, for joining. So Sydney, I have a few questions to get to know Sydney a little bit better. Okay. It's just small little questions, nothing hectic, nothing to worry about.
Okay.
Mommy, you want to dance?
Come here.
Mommy.
Hey Nola. Hey baby. Hey baby girl. All right, so here's your questions, right? What is your superpower?
Ooh, okay. My superpower is empathy.
Ooh, okay. All right, very nice. Choose one word that describes you best.
Sounds like the same word. I would say compassionate.
Okay, compassion. All right. So tell me, I'm not too sure. I choose either one. So what book are you reading, or if there's any series are you watching right now?
Ooh, okay, so I want to make sure my laptop's charging. 1 second. Okay, here we go. A book I'm reading so many books. I'm always reading a lot of books at once, but the one that I am most excited about right now, can I grab it really quick and just show it to you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, 1 second.
So Sydney's just grabbing her book, guys. So the question I asked her is what book is she currently reading right now, if she's willing to share. So she's just went to go grab the book quickly. Woman Involved.
It's called Woman Evolved.
Okay.
Yes. And so it's the story. Okay, so here's the back. It says the most unappreciated woman in history is Eve. We're so blinded by her mistake that we don't see how she gathered the pieces she had left and dared to revolutionize her life. So this is a book about, we know the story of Adam and Eve and how Eve like destroyed everything. That's like the narrative, right? But it's actually about, how, I haven't gotten very deep into the book yet, but it's about how we women could actually look at Eve as, instead of this kind of person we roll our eyes at and kind of are annoyed that she set women up for failure and all those things. No, we can look at her.
Okay.
That's the narrative, right? And that's the thing, that people really look at Eve as kind of the example of like why women are struggling, why women have periods, why women have this and that. And I didn't actually realize that was the perception of Eve, but because I grew up Christian, but I also very much left the Christian faith because of a lot of the kind of hypocrisy. But now I'm healing even that relationship now and realizing that I really want to learn more about this faith that has given my ancestry, my family, so much strength over the years, and that's been my family's belief system. And I'm actually learning more and more that I think it's like the demonization of Eve that's kind of turned me off a little bit. So that's why I'm excited about this book.
Do you want to put it up again? There we go. Dawn, Nelia, can you see that? There we go. That's a great book.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I ordered it and I only made it through like the introduction, so I haven't gotten deep into it. But I would love this to be a book club book, because I think it's really all about how the subtitle is "Break Up with Your Fears and Revolutionize Your Life," and it's using that biblical story, that biblical arc of Eve and her kind of redemptive story to be able to encourage women to know that you're not your mistakes. And that's really what we've been talking about this whole time, is that our mistakes they don't have to define us, and that we can make choices to kind of shift the trajectory of our lives, and and to forgive ourselves.
So I have to share this with you. So I got an ancient mythology book. All right. It's an ancient mythology book, and it's called The Map, right?
Okay.
And it says you're finding the magic and meaning in the story of your life. Yeah. So the map is.
I've seen this book actually.
Yeah.
I think I might have borrowed that book on Kindle now that I'm looking at it. Wow.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
So yeah. So it's you know it's also bringing a lot of the stories and meaning of life and consciousness and awareness and stuff. So yeah, I've got a lot of books as well. So trust me, I'm in the same movie. Okay. 2 more questions. What is the most outrageous thing you've ever done?
Oh my goodness. The most outrageous thing I've ever done, I mentioned already that I've done burlesque. So that wasn't even the most outrageous thing. It was that I had a performance planned at a very kind of chic event that had like lots of people had shown up. It was like 200, maybe 200 people and it was a very intimate saloon setting. And I had the thought that I just in my spirit felt the urge to change the song that I was dancing to, and I changed it to a gospel. It was a gospel song that I was like, I know it was really, really crazy. And I was like, but why? But it was literally speaking to my spirit. I was like, and the song, I don't know if you've heard the song Shackles by Mary Mary, but it was.
Oh, I like that song.
Oh, so you know it. So.
Oh yeah, I know it.
So I was like, and so I really couldn't explain why. I was like, just feeling it, change the song. And so I did, and I went on, and it was not a Christian or it was a regular event at a kind of like Soho House. I don't know if you're familiar with Soho House. So it was at a Soho House, and okay, sweetie, one moment. She wants me to dance with her. So I do this song, I do this performance, and and it was, I was terrified, but it was literally, I felt like, God was talking to me, like, and I did it. And it was all about, the song is all about like freeing yourself and unshackling yourself. And so I danced, and it wasn't the same burlesque number. It was really just kind of this free flowing dance. And it was amazing, and it was kind of outrageous. But I found out 2 weeks later, I was actually pregnant with her during that performance. And I was like, was that you, girl? Like, was that you? Because I really couldn't explain what made me change it. But I was 1 week pregnant with her at that performance. And that was my last performance. But it was outrageous at the time because I hadn't built the faith that I have now. And so it was like, I didn't know why I was doing it, but it felt like one of those, like, I could hear it in my ears and in my body, and I just had to obey it. And so it's kind of one of those moments that I still look back on and like, I can't believe I did that, but it was awesome.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Thank you for that share. And my last question to you, right? If you had to redo something in your life, what would you redo?
Wow. You know what? It's so cliche to say, but I couldn't redo anything because, again, I'm at that point where I love where I'm at in my life. I love the experiences that I have and the stories that I can tell that will help other women. And so, I have moments that I can think of that I would say I would change that, but that would have just changed my entire trajectory if I had changed those moments. So, I'll have to say that I wouldn't change a thing. I love the life I've lived, and I'm glad that I've lived through certain things that I can, share and support other women in their healing.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I needed you to acknowledge that, okay?
Thank you.
I needed you to acknowledge that because you can't redo, right?
You can't. Nope.
You're here because of all of that today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much. Nola, you're a beautiful princess. Hey? So now Dawn and Nelia have been the top champions of today's talk. They're also looking to get that book that you just, showed up as well. So these guys are going to get it. So Dawn and Nelia, If you're content with yourself, you cannot change anything. Social media. So if it's okay with you, Sydney, can I give a copy of the book to Dawn and Nelia? Is that all right to both of
Absolutely.
them?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So Dawn and Nelia, I am Sydney's going to send me the PDF of her book, and she has gifted the two of you a copy of her book that's launched today. So I just want to share that with you guys, and thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your thoughts. Sydney, you can just send it to me and I'll pop it to Dawn and to Nelia as well. Ladies, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
such
you.
a great pleasure, and you guys have been awesome. So let's talk about this book now. How can our viewers get a hold of this book, and how can they? I'm not too sure if you're set up. So how can they find what you've now just written? Do you want to share that, Sydney? Are you on? Okay, guys, I think Sydney is just having some technical issues right now. Yeah, it's frozen, guys. I'm sorry. So what I am gonna do, as we go, Sydney, are you back? Here we go. Here we go. So how do they get a hold of your book? How do people get a hold of you if they want to know more about your stories and your book? I think share with the people.
Yes. Okay. So they can go to onemothersmind.com. That's the name of the book. And that is actually you'll see when you land on that website, there's a countdown timer because there is a soft launch for the book where people who have been on this call, they will get a free copy. So not just the people that you shared would get the copy. I want to make sure that everyone who is on here, even rewatching, is going to be able to get a PDF version because I'm going to be publishing this on Kindle, and that's going live on Saturday. So, but for in the meantime, you can get the kind of more visual version of it with that has graphic formatting and things like that don't necessarily show up on the ebook version. You can access that by going to onemothersmind.com and plugging your email address in the mailing list field, and I'll send it to you directly.
Okay. So
Yeah.
onemothersmind.com, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. I think instead of you sending it to me, Sydney, Dawn and Nelia, how about you go to onemothersmind.com and go and get the free copy there, ladies, right? And then obviously you get onto the mailing list for herself, so she's growing her email list and her audience as well, and you guys are going to support her. I think get on it and yeah, download your free copy there, Sydney. I think that would be great to do so. Oh, Dawn's already done it.
Thank you,
Dawn,
Dawn.
you're such a gem. You know, you're such a gem. Yeah, so get on there. And what I am going to do, Sydney, on the Facebook group, I'm going to put the details in there as well for the people to do that. And they'll be able to download it as well. So yeah, it's been such a pleasure and a beautiful, beautiful conversation. I love having chats like these with people. It just makes my heart feel warm. It makes me see how people love what they're doing and just creating, right? Just creating magic. That's what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Well, thank you for everything you do for creating this platform and, giving people space to share their stories. It's truly, the transformational work you're doing. I know you're a woman you're very aware of your genius, your personal genius. So thank you for living and standing in your genius and just being you. And it was truly a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, you are so kind. Thank you so much. When I created open mic, it literally was to echo our voices louder and louder so the other side of the oceans can hear it. And, we grow and grow as one. And for me, it's so important that we all need to understand that we are no different. We are no different. No different in culture, in race, in religion, in the language that we speak, in the color, in the shape, in the size. We are no different. And through storytelling, this is what my ultimate aim is, for people to see and to hear that we are no different from each other. And for me, if I can share and make humanity realize that, by far it would be the greatest gift of all.
Amen to that. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be a
Sydney,
part.
yes, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your beautiful stories with us and giving us the gift, and also, for the people to download your book as well. And I just want to say thank you so much. And a happy Mother's Day, guys, to everybody out there who is celebrating, whether it's the morning, the afternoon, or late in South Africa right now. It's very late evening. I want to say, guys, to catch us, we have a YouTube channel. It's Open Mic Foundation. You guys know the Facebook page, which you guys are on right now, which is the Open Mic Foundation. There's also a private group, which is called the Open Mic for Women. We have a lot of different people that's on there as well. It's not just for women. And obviously we have an Instagram account, and our handle is the Open Mic Foundation and an _. So please follow us, support us, and yeah, let's bring more people to the platform, and let's start sharing and more as we grow. Sydney, have a beautiful Mother's Day. And treasure Nola today, and you guys just rock it, and just have a beautiful and blessed day today.
Thank you so much. You too.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you so much. Ladies, Dawn, Nelia, thank you so much, ladies. We'll be in touch. Have a great day. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.